Conversation 1. You hear part of a discussion program about using others' ideas for inspiration.
Listen to this quote from Vincent van Gogh. As an artist, you are only a link in a chain, and whatever you find or whatever you do not find, you can find comfort in it. He's put it nicely. We do draw our inspiration from the work of others, build on what came before, and inevitably leave behind something for others to build on later.
Yes, building on someone's work is one thing, but copying is a completely different matter. I think people sometimes forget why they copy or how much copying is acceptable.
That's right. Copying is part of the learning process, and it is how art and design evolve. It is a means to an end. But there's a big difference between drawing inspiration from someone's work and copying it and passing it off as your own for financial gains. That's why we need the copyright laws.
When we draw inspiration, there's always a danger, though, that we might cross over into copying, especially when there are artists whose work you admire and you tend to pay a lot of attention to what they do and seek to include some of their work into your own.
Conversation 2. You hear a conversation between two friends about stealing ideas.
It's so frustrating to see some websites trawling other sites to mine them for ideas. This really puts me off sharing my work online.
I see why you're angry. But there's not much they can do with just an idea, is there? It's the execution behind the idea that matters.
That's true, but not when people steal the whole work. It is outrageous that some people think if they change 10% of the original work, then it is theirs. But law doesn't see it that way. Beyond the legal issues, I think it is unfair and disrespectful.
I suppose if they put themselves in the artist's shoes, they probably wouldn't do it. I have come across websites that refer to different artists' works, but it's for information and they clearly state it. But when they do it for money, it's a totally different game.
Yes, copyright doesn't apply to something that is not tangible like an idea. If there are no consequences, nothing can really stop people using someone else's idea, so I feel I shouldn't put my ideas out there in the first place.
Conversation 3. You hear two students discussing a lecture on how children think for themselves.
I found the study that Professor Higgins mentioned in his talk today very informative.
Which aspect of it? That children as young as 5 understand that others have ideas and dislike the copying of these ideas or how they justify their evaluations. I didn't think the findings were astonishing. We underestimate children most of the time, forgetting that they do have critical thinking skills too.
No, what I'm referring to is their selective behaviour mainly, and how it develops. Not only can they evaluate people's skills, but they also choose who to copy. It is fascinating to see how they go from choosing to learn from the mother to copying an expert when they are a bit older.
I would like to read up on that more. He mentioned the research about copying an expert versus copying a majority too. Unfortunately, he didn't go into detail. I'm intrigued to know which one they preferred.
In addition to that, I'd like to know more about their decision and the reason behind it. Does it show a competency? Did they consistently show that behaviour or not? Shall we get the details of the article from the professor?